Welcome to the AV Huddle, the place for AV professionals to get the latest news, updates and stories from the leading commercial manufacturers and suppliers. Hear from end users while we dive into new technology, business strategy and innovative ways AV is shaping the sector. Let's jump into the huddle.
Hi, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another session of the AV Huddle. And today we have a special day because we've got three guests. I was going to say four, but that includes me. So there's three guests, and we've got Andrew from DTEN. And Andrew is the UK and Ireland country manager, and he helps. So DTEN actually helped with the Zoom video endpoint, and he's also a keen Land Rover enthusiast. You can probably see from the pictures in the background. I'm sure he'll tell us more about that later. We also have Dan from Nuvias, who are a Zoom, well, he's a Zoom business development manager, and they work very closely with Zoom and offer a distribution partnership. And he's also trying to be a keen golfer. I won't say any more there. And then we also have Ash, who's from Zoom, and Ash is a healthcare manager, and he used to work in a healthcare startup prior to joining Zoom as well. I've probably done really poor intros. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass it over to each one of you guys and just fill us in a little bit that I've missed, and tell us a little bit more about what you do and what the company does. And then we'll start having a bit more of a deeper conversation, guys. Andrew, do you want to go first? Because you're first on my screen. It's probably easier that way.
Perfect, Mitesh. Thank you very much, and thanks for having me. So I'm from a UC and conferencing background. I joined DTEN just quite simply because they have some really cool video conferencing endpoints. We partnered with Zoom some time ago, just quite simply. The goal was to improve the meeting room experience. As part of their partnership, Zoom tasked us to build an all-in-one plug-and-play video endpoint for Zoom. We subsequently gone on to build additional hardware devices for Zoom. And right now it's just an amazing place to be, especially as we come out of the pandemic. People are adapting and evolving in this hybrid work environment.
No, brilliant, but that makes sense. And I'm sure I'd love to hear more about hybrid because it's quite a big buzzword at the moment. But we'll let Dan have a quick fill in the gaps as well, please.
Thanks, Mitesh. Yeah, so I'm Zoom BDM at Nuvias. Joined here in June. I've always worked in distribution. So prior to joining Nuvias, I was working mainly from a computing hardware background. So now focusing on software and enabling our partners to deliver the correct solutions to the end users, especially within healthcare. We're working closely with Zoom and DTEN as Zoom's hardware partner to make sure that our partners are bringing the right solutions to those end users and identifying the key solutions there.
Brilliant. No, thank you very much, Dan. Ash, do you want to go next?
Yeah, thanks, Mitesh. So I've been at Zoom coming up to 7 months now. But as you mentioned, I was at a health tech startup before, and I was keeping a real close eye on what Zoom were doing in the healthcare space. I just thought it's so exciting. And if they focused in the UK on healthcare, I'd come. And lo and behold, they put the job out, and I went for it, and here we are. So it's been a really fascinating 7 months for me, going from that sort of segment of Zoom do video meetings into, oh wow, there's so much more that's possible on the Zoom platform.
Well, that's like a proper dream come true, isn't it? Like, you know, you want to work for a company and you got that job. That's amazing. So I think, you know, I think it'd be really interesting to learn more about how the partnership between Zoom and DTEN is working, because I understand you guys are really kind of working closely together, and I just want to learn from an endpoint consumer point of view, what does that actually mean? You know, what are, I guess, the people getting from using like a DTEN piece of hardware that's been designed specifically with Zoom in mind? Maybe Andy, Ash, one of you guys can tell me more about that.
Yeah, I'm happy to kick that one off. So a lot of my day-to-day job is talking with our NHS customers and understanding what they're trying to achieve in hospitals and in sort of wider settings. And one of the things that comes up time and time again is that hardware is complex, and the clinicians are brilliant at what they do. You know, you would trust them entirely going to do keyhole surgery on your heart, but trying to start a video call, no, don't even go there. So the challenge was, how can we find the right hardware, which is so simple to use that even a heart surgeon can use it? And that's effectively where DTEN step in.
Hey, thanks, Ash. I suppose to add to that, everybody loves Zoom because it just works. What we love about Zoom is what they've done for the room experience. Zoom rooms, for example, just makes it extremely intuitive. Whether you are an academic, a heart surgeon, or somebody's grandmother, when you walk into a place where you find a bit of hardware, and I say hardware, a video conferencing endpoint, you just want to push one button and start a meeting.
Yeah.
Or you might just want to push one button and start a whiteboard. It just has to be super intuitive. And I think that that was a big part of our partnership with Zoom, was we wanted to make everything extremely intuitive for the end user. And we do exactly that with our big devices, with the small devices as well. You walk into a meeting room, one click to join, but also you shouldn't have to think, oh, is this a Zoom meeting, or is this a Microsoft Teams meeting, or what am I doing? You should just walk in. It should just work, and that's exactly what we deliver with DTEN Zoom endpoints.
I was at an NHS conference last week, and I had a D10 Me, which is a smaller, I think it's 27-inch device on the stand, and the amount of NHS staff that came up and go, wow, this is really simple. How is it you're just pressing one button and getting through? And it stirred up so much conversation, and a lot of the conversation was, oh, well, could we put it in this reception area here and get through to the right person, or could we put it in a GP practice so we can get through to a consultant somewhere else? And it's like, yeah, absolutely. This is exactly why this partnership's in place.
Well,
Ash, just on that, sorry, Mitesh. I was just going to say, are you finding in your conversations with healthcare end users that they are leading the use cases and sort of certain use cases that you thought might be perfect for the D10 Me and the and Zoom rooms, for example? Are they then opening you up to new opportunities that you weren't even aware of?
Yeah, so it's more at the moment. It seems like we're at a point where they don't have a good understanding of what the partnership looks like and what great looks like when it comes to hardware. So as sort of no disrespect to D10 at all, but it's not a name that sort of stands out yet in the hardware world. But when they see it, they go, oh wow, I didn't know this was possible. So a lot of the conversations are, we have this challenge, or we have 6 different reception areas, but only 4 receptionists. How are we supposed to juggle staff between them? And then we have solutions like, well, put a D10 in the other receptions and have one central reception area, and you solved that issue. But until we sort of educate on here's what's possible, and the art of the possible, if you will, it's very much more, it's a problem statement that's coming forward rather than, Ash, I need 15 27-inch screens that connect to Zoom.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that, Ash, because you shouldn't have to think, oh, there's a bit of kit or there's a bit of hardware, what can I do with it? Let's start looking at it the other way around. Let's look at some of the challenges, and let's focus on healthcare in particular. Some of the challenges that healthcare are currently facing. There's 3 very key applications that really stand out for us. The one Ash touched on there, people are now returned to the hospital. They need to go for a consultation. What happens? What's their experience going to be like? Bearing in mind that we've been in lockdown for the last 18 months, people are worried about going to hospitals. What are you going to pick up there? Mitesh, would you mind if I flick over to a side-facing camera just to show you a quick application?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, we'd love to see more.
So I'm quite lucky. In my home office, I've got a fair bit of kit. But if I just flick over to a side-facing camera, this device over here, it's a little 27-inch video endpoint. When you walk into the hospital, I've actually got mine set up, and this is what Zoom do, super cool. All of their room devices support digital signage. So I've got a little mock-up here where it's a mock-up of a wayfinder. You walk into a hospital, it shows you the floor plans of the hospital, and you can find your way around. On the right-hand side, I've just personalized, it says tap for assistance. So if I touch the screen because I need assistance, it then gives me some prompts. So again, this is just a mock-up, popped in an NHS logo, welcome to the medical center, and it says push button for reception. So not only can I find my way around, but if I then want to be able to speak to somebody, I don't need to have, or the hospital doesn't need to have a receptionist stand at the front desk being available. What a person does is they push the button for reception, or it even supports voice recognition. So down the bottom there's a voice prompt I can say. So even if I'm worried about touching the screen, I can then say those words and it will physically connect to up to 4 people that the hospital's got pre-saved as your virtual reception.
Well, I think that's pretty impressive. So basically, I can just walk up to that screen and just talk to it like I'm talking to a receptionist.
Yeah. And the thing is, one of the challenges in the NHS is making sure that healthcare is accessible, right? Make sure every patient, regardless of where they are, has access to care. And it's fine for people like us to go, oh, we'll do it on Zoom. We'll pick up the phone and we'll just do it on our smartphone. But there's still a significant proportion of the population who don't have access to this technology, don't have access to broadband or even a smartphone.
Yeah.
So it's how can we use the tech that we've got to actually increase accessibility for patients? And there's these sort of what ifs. So what if each GP surgery had one of these DTENs in their reception area? So someone who can't get to the hospital because it's too far away, but can get to their GP, can go to the GP and have a virtual consultation with the hospital. And it's providing that accessibility. But there's also there was an announcement we made at Zoomtopia about a feature coming called the Video Engagement Center, which is effectively a contact center like you'd have for telephony, but for video. So that same situation where you could walk into reception, get through to sort of the receptionist on video, who can then route your video call through to the right consultant or the right department in real time. So there's 2 things, right? So there's accessibility for patients, and there's also speed of care and speed of delivery of care, and making sure that when we're hitting those time periods and making sure that you as a patient are getting seen to in the quickest way possible.
I think that's something that I guess the average person, maybe like myself, would never thought about that. But now you say it makes so much sense, because there's always technology out there, but it's probably not used to its best capability. And I think having somewhere where you can just walk in and just talk, but then it's not just that, it's actually how it's doing it. So it's enabling you to talk to consultants in the hospital, or the GP practice managers. So I think that's quite powerful, really.
It's thinking as well. We have live transcription at the moment on the Zoom client, and we have we acquired a company called Kites about 6 months ago, who do live translation of language.
Okay.
So imagine being in a hospital where English isn't your first language, but you can still talk at the screen, and it will live translate it back to English so that the receptionist knows what to do with you. It's really powerful.
Yeah. I think that is really that is powerful. I was trying to think of another word for it, but how powerful is the right word? Because I think people do speak different languages, and again, with the transcribing, it's good for people who might have issues with hearing or visibility, because you've got voice communication, and you've got visual communication, and then you've got video communication. So you've kind of ticked all the boxes of how people communicate with just one system. I think that's what's so good, isn't it? Having that one system. And if someone's like listening to this from a GP practice, what would be the main triggers that's them going to say, actually, I need to learn more about this? Because I know you've mentioned quite a few different things there, but what are the key things you guys come across? They say, you know what, this solves this problem for me.
I think I'd be pretty certain that all of us have had that experience where we try and get an appointment with a GP and we're either on hold or we can't connect, right? Because the lines are just too busy. They can't manage demand.
Yeah.
So we can manage that. We can get around that by using Zoom. We can get around the sort of the call management capacity issue, both from looking at having devices where we can just connect through, but also looking at platforms like Zoom Phone, where it's a fully fledged telephony platform. And then we're not getting an engaged tone when we get through. We're getting routed through to the right person. And then we can escalate that into a video call if we need to. So from my perspective, from what I'm hearing, specifically in primary care, it's about managing demand, especially winter pressures, going, well, we can deploy this very quickly. You know, we've had hospitals deploy Zoom fully integrated into electronic patient record systems within a matter of weeks, and that's 5,000 users. So I'm rambling a bit, I think, but I guess my point is, don't be put off by the thought that this is really quite immersive technology, because it's still really quick to deploy, it's quick to scale, and it's intuitive to use.
Ash, can I just add to that? And sorry, Dan, I'm just trying to relate to a personal experience. So we talk about a lot of bad things happened during the pandemic, but there's also a lot of good things that ultimately came out of it. So personally, I have dogs. So during the pandemic, made sure I walk them every day. We've got loads of fields around where we live. And I developed a bit of a skin irritation on my shins. So typically phone my GP. Now, normally what would happen is I'd sit on hold for a long time, first thing in the morning, hoping for a same day appointment, or they'd book an appointment, especially when it's a skin irritation on my shins from walking in the fields. So nothing urgent. GP called me straight back. The reception called me straight back and scheduled in a virtual consultation. So just the fact that my GP can run a virtual consultation, that suddenly enables them to see so many more patients. For me as an end user, they scheduled a meeting, sent me a Zoom invitation. So I then joined it from my laptop, but equally so I could have joined from my mobile phone, so I didn't need to have anything special. The GP themselves can run that call either from their laptop, or that personal device that I showed you earlier where we use it as a virtual reception, you can use that as a dedicated endpoint. So the GP can then run a video call. For me, it was a quick consultation, 5 minutes max. I didn't have to travel to the GP. It just started straight into my day, so nice and easy. Things like that makes a real difference to everybody. You can turn video on if you want to, or you can just have audio only. In my case, video was turned on. The doctor was able to have a look. They could see that was a very common skin irritation from walking through the fields where I was walking my dogs. They prescribed some cream, they prescribed some cream. They let me know which pharmacy I could then go to collect the medication from, all without actually physically having to go to the GP clinic.
That was something I was going to ask, actually, is we've seen that a lot more, I think, over COVID period, is more virtual consultations. Ash, speaking to healthcare professionals, is that something that's going to continue now that we're starting to come out of this lockdown COVID period, or do you think we'll go back to a face-to-face consultation model?
I think it's going to be more about choice for a patient and what the patient wants to do. It's interesting, although we've been in lockdown and we hear a lot about these virtual consultations, 70% of virtual consultations are still only audio only. So there's only 30% are on video, which surprised me when I saw the stats. But yeah, I think it's about having choice and empowering the patient to go, do I want to spend half a day off work to go and get my shin looked at, or can I do this within 20 minutes on a break using my smartphone? The interesting thing is, one of the trusts in London that deployed Zoom, they ran a survey, and 95% of the clinicians said they would like to continue doing video consultations post-COVID. So it's definitely having an impact. But yeah, I think it's about pro-choice. But one of the things I was thinking in my head, Andrew, when you were speaking about the sort of the ease of the experience for you as a patient, was also the other side, and the ease of the experience for the GP. And if the GP had integrated Zoom into their patient record system, not only have they got your details in front of them, and they just go schedule video appointment, which then sends you an SMS with the Zoom link, they know for certain it's gone to the right person because it's integrated into the record. But at the time of the appointment, they're in the EPR, they just click start, and they're in the session with your notes in front of them. I think that's where it's powerful, and that's where we're seeing time saved from the consultant side as well, which is just making it as easy for both sides of the coin.
Yeah, I think what you said there makes so much sense. I think with COVID, people have been pushed to use new technology or maybe adopt it quicker than they would have, because they've kind of not had a choice. But however, now they've experienced it, they can see the benefits, of the technology, and they again, continuing to use this in different environments. And I know hybrid seems to be a big buzzword these days, especially people going back to the office or working from home, going back to, I guess, the GP surgery or not. Well, what are your thoughts on the future of hybrid and how technology can help there?
Yeah, so I think in healthcare, it's slightly different because your frontline staff are always going to be there. They're always going to be frontline, but it's your sort of admin, your significant number of back office staff who now have choice as to whether they want to travel to that campus environment to do the job on the laptop, or are they empowered to do it from home? And the challenges that I hear time and time again are that trusts who have deployed sort of in campus settings, which a lot of these trusts are, have gone down the traditional route of having a handset on the desk and a fixed phone number linked to that desk. So when COVID first came round, the calls were going nowhere because there's not an easy way of diverting that phone to your mobile unless you were there in the office before they sent you home. So the task faced at the moment on Zoom from our customers is, how can we make this flexible? How can we make a phone system work and a video system work which follows me and uses my devices? And we're solving that time and time again, but there must be hundreds upon thousands of handsets sitting on desks that are ringing with no one there to answer them.
Shocking. I think Andrew, you were going to say something as well there.
I was, and hybrid. Okay, I know, I get it. It's another one of those buzzwords, but it is so true, and it's affecting all walks of life. So we talk about the hybrid office because as offices are reopening, no matter what line of work you're in, there's going to be a mixture of those that can physically be present and those that are going to have to join remote. In healthcare in particular, there's one, Ash, and I know we've talked about this, MDT sessions, so multidiscipline team sessions. So historically, what would happen is you'd get I'm going to say a bunch, for lack of a better term, but you'd get a group of professionals, be they consultants in their particular fields, that would meet on a weekly basis. It would be a case of getting everybody into the same room and reviewing some high profile case files or more complex case files where you need specialities from orthopedics, from neurology, from the pathology, all getting together. So if you don't mind, let me just flick over to a side-facing camera. What I'm going to do is, first of all, just point to one of our devices, give the camera a couple of seconds to adjust to the light.
I think I need to get one of these side-facing cameras. They're quite cool.
They are for sure, but it just allows me to talk to you. So this is the DTEN. It's our 55-inch. When you video enable a workspace, so for an MDT session, when you walk in, immediately it's got to be intuitive. So this is what Zoom brings. It's a Zoom Room for Touch user interface. Got a meeting pre-scheduled. It's in the calendar, one click to join. And that works if it's a Zoom meeting like we're in now, or a Teams meeting like I've got booked in below there. It's an all-in-one device with a built-in camera microphone. If I have Zoom Phone enabled, I can make and receive phone calls from it as well, or I can just share content. So even if it's just people in the room, I can just wirelessly share content. But what I'd like to do, if you don't mind, I'm going to join this meeting room now. So I click one button. I'll probably go into your waiting room. If you don't mind just letting me in.
Yeah.
That's just telling me that recording is in progress. I'll turn the video on the device, but I've still got my laptop pointing at the device just so you can see it. Now, in an MDT session, typically everybody would get into the room. The person running that session would then be sharing content on screen. So if I now go and share content, I'm just going to share my screen from my laptop. I'll change the view on the screen to thumbnail so I can see all of the video participants up at the top there. Now I've got content on screen. Now this is just an image that's publicly available, looking at what it explains, a cardiac angiogram. Now don't get me wrong, I don't know anything about the content of this, but if you can imagine you're running a remote session, your specialists, your consultants have all joined you, but instead of having to wait a week for everybody to get together in one room, you bring in everybody remotely. And this can happen at a time that it's urgent, opposed to having to wait until the consultants can get together. And if I then want to talk about a particular point on this image, I can literally point it out. And regardless of where you are, you can then see exactly what it is, the bit that I'm referring to. And obviously somebody way more qualified than me would be able to articulate this or explain exactly what's in the image. There's probably something very relevant in this diagram that you want to talk about. And anybody that's joined remote can actually then talk about it, where at least I can actually work out that that is the spinal column. So obviously it allows you to go into the level of detail, or it allows the consultants, the person running the MDT session, to go into the level of detail that they want. And Ash, you're probably joined from your laptop. So Ash is then able to annotate on the device, on the image as well. And if I then want to keep this for the record, I literally just press save, and it pops up, and I can actually save it either in a Zoom chat or by email. So I'll physically send a copy of not only the image, but also the annotation. So it gives everything context as well, and it can be added to the patient's file.
I think that is pretty, powerful, I guess the right word there again, because I think, one thing that stood out initially there was every time, I guess most people think of Zoom, they just think of, the typical video call. But what you showed there on that home screen is the one-click Zoom. You can do telephone calls, you can do Teams meetings, and especially with the content share you've done there with everybody working together collaboratively, there's a lot more than just what people think of Zoom, typically being like a video call. And I think that is really, really powerful, especially in the scenario you've mentioned there.
I think it's worth as well talk about sort of the elephant in the room, which is Microsoft Teams, and having the ability to start a Teams call from inside of Zoom and vice versa. And yeah, we're very much of the position that we're not here to replace Teams, especially not in a healthcare setting. The NHS have a contract with Microsoft, which is national. But for us, and what we're hearing is it's about what is the right technology in the right situation. So by having integration of Zoom into Teams means that that internal collaboration can still happen on Teams. If a consultant wants to talk to a consultant and they've got that chat going, so be it. But 9 times out of 10, your patient is on Zoom already and isn't that familiar with Teams. So it's having the right technology for the right situation and making them all coexist and work together. And we see it. So there's a customer called UDG Healthcare in Ireland. And they're a big Microsoft Office customer, but they also deployed, I think it's about 2,000 Zoom phone licenses to coexist alongside Teams. And the comment was, we use Teams for what it's meant for, quick internal collaboration. But when it comes to external conversations, the go-to is Zoom. And it's about, bringing the best of both together.
I like that. I think that's really good from a consumer's point of view and the end user. They've got the best of both, and they can pick what works for them. And it's not like you have to pick one or the other, because then it becomes I guess a big barrier there. But
I heard a great analogy the other day as well, which was when you buy your car and it comes with the inbuilt sat nav. Typically, you're still using the sat nav you downloaded on your phone because it was a better sat nav, right? The one that came with it, and
that's actually the one in my car.
That's what we see a lot.
No, that's a good way of putting that, really, and that's really interesting. So I guess one of the other questions is, obviously there's lots happening in the industry and the market, especially with healthcare, with with Zoom and DTEN. And but what does the future look like? Where are things going, and what can people see coming? And is there anything new that's developing, or are you looking for people to work on with something innovative that maybe I don't know if you do beta trials or feedback or something? It'd be good to see what's happening.
So we've got there's a domain you can navigate to. It's called marketplace.zoom.us, and that lists over 50 currently integrated third-party applications specifically for healthcare. So there's already a really vibrant community of developers who are building their own software to work alongside Zoom. And I believe there's also an investment program at the moment for more developers to get funded by Zoom to show innovation onto the Zoom platform. But yeah, I see a lot of very sort of niche and specific applications working alongside Zoom coming from these third parties where you can just integrate in. And we see it, even with the patient record systems. So Epic is one of the largest ones in the States. And if you're an Epic customer and a Zoom customer, it's now almost a one-click integration to get Zoom into the EPR. So yeah, so I'd say keep an eye there. And there's hundreds of more broad sort of applications and integrations. My background is a third-party app called Warmly, which then gives me sort of customized backgrounds. So there's loads, and there's gamification and fundraising apps and so forth. But yeah, it's a really vibrant community.
And Andrew, I don't know from DTEN, is there anything there you can talk about?
I think like everything Zoom, it's continuously evolving and developing. And I think more specifically catering for end user applications. So you look at the need of the customer and you develop the product to fulfill that need, to help make life a lot easier. Something in particular, I mentioned those MDT sessions. So one of the options that you can give, and I suppose it relates more into education, but you see the setup right now where I'm joined from my laptop, so I've got a rear-facing camera and I'm talking to you on the DTEN device, but that rear-facing camera, I could just plug into the DTEN and it will run simultaneously. So Zoom have introduced what they refer to as Smart Gallery. Now, Smart Gallery is a multitude of different features that ultimately allow you to get separate images for everybody that's physically joined from a room. So one part of it is the built-in camera will give you up to 3 separate images. So you get headshots of everybody that's in the room. And the multicam allows you to add up to an extra 2 cameras. So you have 3 different cameras in the room that can either give you a back of the room view, or if you can imagine a meeting room, you can actually get a face-on shot from a camera on either side of it. Another good thing about the devices is the hardware is designed to be future-proof. So we love the idea of easy to deploy, easy to use, make it intuitive, but also easy to manage. So Zoom keep bringing out new features, DTEN keep bringing out new features, and the good thing is you don't need to replace the hardware, all from the Zoom admin portal. You push those Zoom app updates or DTEN firmware updates, all free of charge directly from the Zoom admin portal. So it's continuously developing, evolving, all to cater for ultimately what our customers need.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's a good way of doing that. And I like that. I like where things are just, over the air updates is probably the best way of doing things. And Dan, I think, you probably speak to a lot of customers as well, and you see what's happening in the market, from integrators and customers and clients. I don't know if you've got anything to add in terms of what's happening and where the future's going, and anything exciting you guys are working on.
Yeah, I think it's like Ash said, it's being led by the customer and the patient in this circumstance, and it's really what they want to use and what they feel is easiest for them. So that's why it's really key to have a flexible portfolio, and we talked about the coexistence with Teams and Zoom. It's just important to be able to offer the experience that the patient wants. So that's where we're seeing the market and how it's being led. So we are just enabling and training our partners like AVM Solutions to make sure that they're able to have those conversations and listen to the pain points of the customer and make sure that we've got the right solution with Zoom and DTEN to try and fix those issues.
Yeah, and I think that's the best way of looking at it. How can we help the end customer and the client at the end of the day? What's best for them, and not trying to force feed a solution for them.
Exactly
No,
that.
that's that. Yeah, yeah. No, it's been really interesting. I've learned quite a lot actually. In terms of what I thought Zoom was, and generally what you normally think what a big touch screen is. But I think if you look at it from what you've discussed today, there's so much going on. With the live transcripts, the voice, you can just speak to the devices, the hybrid solutions, the integrations. It's just so much more than what people would think, I guess, happening there. Is there anything that I've missed that you feel is worth getting out there? Because I think you guys know so much of this new stuff that I find amazing. That is there anything that we've not talked about you think it's worth sharing with everybody?
I think the closing comment from me is that Zoom are investing a lot of resource into healthcare over the last year, and it's I think yet to mature in terms of the market understanding and knowing what it is we're doing. So I would just recommend if you have a healthcare customer or you are a healthcare customer and you want to know what's possible beyond just having a Zoom meeting, get in touch, because it's a really powerful platform in healthcare.
Yeah, thanks, Ash. Andrew, have you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, maybe if I can second what Ash is saying there. We're not trying to make hardware fit into, we're not saying there's the hardware, go make it fit. What we're saying is that talk to us about the challenges that you're faced with. What are you trying to fix? What are you trying to address? Because as much as we touched on a smaller device and a larger device and a couple of those applications, we have other products of very cost-effective ways of video enabling an existing bit of equipment. And then all of the developments that are coming from Zoom with the integrations. But talk to us about the challenges you're trying to overcome. Let us see if we have some suggested ways of being able to address those. We'd be very happy to send out devices to trial in a live environment. So that way we're not saying go and spend a fortune on hardware. Try them out first. Make sure that they're going to help you achieve what you want to achieve. And I suppose we're then very confident that chances are you will probably end up purchasing that too.
Yeah, no, I think that's another great incentive as well. Try out the hardware and devices and breaking down those barriers. Dan, I don't know if you've got anything more to add that you want to share with anybody.
I think from myself, it's just be open-minded, because like I said, was from a computing hardware background before. I didn't really know pre-pandemic that any of this was possible. And then when Andrew brought up the cardiology angiogram, I think I've got those terms right. Hopefully, it just opens your mind up to what is possible. And like you said, Mitesh, it's not just a meeting platform with a DTEN screen. There's some really good use cases and that sort of thing that's possible here, and it's just great to see that sort of thing live.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think that's the thing. People need to get out of that mindset that, because they're used to this, that's what's possible. And it's a case of, actually, I've got this challenge. Let me go and speak to the guys at Zoom and DTEN and see, maybe they've got a feature set that already, helps them with their challenge, or maybe they can even develop something because the guys have got, a whole team doing this kind of R&D work. And I think that's what's interesting and fascinating to hear about, from today's conversation, about all this new technology and integrations happening. I think maybe in 10, 20 years, it'll be a case of Zoom might be telling you that, actually, you know what, there's something wrong with you. We've scheduled a call with your body. I can see that happening.
You know what? Look at the marketplace, because there's already apps like blood flow monitors and heartbeat monitors that are integrated into Zoom. So you can already get an alert and then go, right, I need to speak to my consultant now because I'm getting a warning here.
Yeah, wow, okay, yeah. I look forward to that conversation. That'll be interesting.
I'll probably be googling that afterwards.
Yeah.
That is so true. I talk about the hardware being future-proof, but I think our goal was once a quarter you can get some feature updates. right now, I think Zoom are averaging on twice a month that there's new features, functionality coming out. Now that Zoom have opened up the app marketplace as well, there's thousands upon thousands of companies that are developing the integration into Zoom. So, Ash, you might have said that jokingly, but that's a very true reality. Those integrations are coming. And the good thing is I think Zoom is moving at such a rapid pace. Chances are that they will be able to deliver a solution in future.
Yeah, I'm kind of lost for words. Yeah, it is mind-boggling. I think when you think about it, the stuff that's going on there and things that are happening with Zoom, because I think it's grown so quickly with not just kind of typical Zoom meeting stuff, but with the feature set and especially with the integrations with the hardware. And I think that's the interesting thing there, the integration and how simple things are. Because normally it's send a link and click on this and invite people and do this and do that. And now it's just press a button and you can be speaking to your GP, and it's saving everybody time essentially, and less mistakes I think are happening as well with technology, with integration, which I think is really, really good. I think I'm going to close it there. And what I'm going to do is, I think if anybody wants to learn more, I'm going to put all the information in the comments box below. I know Ash, you mentioned marketplace.zoom.us, so I'll get that in there as well. And I'll put everybody's websites, and if there's any particular contact information, I'll put that in the bottom of the box as well. But I just want to say thank you very much, guys. It's been an interesting conversation. I'm sure we could have spoke about, AI and Matrix and all sorts of stuff taking over the world with communication. But I think I love this kind of stuff, and I think it's going to just rapidly grow. And I'd like to encourage anybody listening, especially from the healthcare field, to get in touch with you guys and just have a conversation. I think that's the best way of doing things. And from my point of view, I think if I'm running a medical practice, it's a case of how can I help my customers better, and this is definitely one way of doing that. So yeah, thank you very much, guys. Thanks for coming on board.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you for listening to the AV Huddle. Don't forget to like, comment, follow, and subscribe to get the latest AV updates. AV Huddle, powered by AVM Solutions.